Hazuki, did you not mention like a few seconds before this that your glasses were kind of getting in the way? Yeah, so, why didn't you take them off during this second attempt?
After a sort of previously on segment, complete with nightmare fuel, we opened this week's episode with a title that you would never hear Mami Tomoe say. With her friends made aware, or really in Hazuki's case, made even more aware of the fact that she was a witch, Doremi was seemingly on her way to becoming a member of Carol's troupe. Thus, she did the smartest thing she could to cover up her secret, and just took them to the magical shop.
Okay, so saying that out loud doesn't sound so smart, but hear me out.
At this point, it's pretty much inevitable that Aiko and Hazuki are going to find the Mahojo on their own now that their curiosity has been piqued, and if they do, there's almost no way they wouldn't come to the conclusion that it was a witch's shop just by the looks of it. Thus, Doremi may as well take them there and then find some way to play it up as a normal shop. Granted, as we'll soon see, her actual execution of this plan was lacking to say the least, but at least her thought process made sense.
You could almost say it's uncharacteristically smart for Doremi. Who are you and what have you done with the real Doremi?
She tried to get the frog and fairy to hide, but probably should have closed the curtains first. With all of them exposed, Lala didn't even bother trying to hide, and thus gave Hazuki all of the evidence she needed to say the W word, and...
Where's the kaboom? There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom.
Yeah, in spite of them giving that impression throughout these first few episodes, as it turned out, Witch's apprentices weren't affected by the frog curse, which, okay, I get that they would want to future-proof Doremi so that the curse wouldn't retroactively take effect after she actually becomes a full-fledged witch, but then they say this.
So, like, are we following Candyman rules? If you say that she's a witch enough, she will eventually turn into a frog?
I mean, what exactly about Hazuki saying that she was a witch this time be any different than almost just a minute ago? Is it just for these funny reactions? Which, I will admit, all of the faces in this scene are hilarious, but still, it's more than a little head scratching.
Again, I do realize stuff like this isn't all that important in the grand scheme of things, but little details like this, I just wish they explained it a little better.
Anyway, since Doremi's training couldn't continue with two outsiders knowing her secret, they did the most obvious thing, especially if you watch the opening, and had to become apprentices themselves with the last two magical taps that they just so happened to have. Realizing that they would soon have infinite power, Hazuki and Aiko began imagining what they could do with it.
Well, again, depending on how rideshare services are accepted, you might not even need magic for that.
Doremi led them through a tutorial of the basics, while also getting a bit of a swelled head while having these faces on it, and the two new witches donned their conveniently color-coordinated outfits. Following this, they practiced some basic spells, which also let the animators just reuse this stuff from episode 1. Though interestingly enough, the two newbies got different wands than Doremi's in that they weren't really wands so much as they were batons.
Now, maybe there are some deeper lore reasons why they got different magical tools than Doremi, but come on, we all know the real reason why.
Hazuki and Aiko tried their hands at spells, with the former turning out the most successful by managing to create a Alolan Eradicate. Not wanting to be shown up by the noob, Doremi tried to repeat that spell.
Could somebody tell Zelda to light up on her down B attack?
Luckily, they were all rescued by a conveniently placed commercial break, and they came back to the armor already having been defeated. Yeah, I feel like we missed out on something here. Well, anyway, the following scene ended up acting as a very diegetic exposition dump where we got to learn a lot more about the rules of this world's magic system. So while they were cleaning, Majorika provided them with a little more lore about forbidden magic. Obviously, we already went over healing magic and the ramifications behind that. Thus, it only made sense that that same sort of equivalent exchange rules extended to full-on resurrection.
Nah, they would probably just end up with maybe a few lost limbs and whole bodies is all.
They also take the time to explain the leveling system, and for some reason, these two imagine themselves as their own fairy partners. Yeah, y'all need better imaginations. Anyway, with that, they of course wanted to improve their skills, but they couldn't do that without some magic spheres that they were all out of and needed to buy more of. Majrika immediately shut down the idea that Hazuki and her parents' money could act as a bottomless wallet for them, as the magic world would only accept cash earned through transactions from magic shops like the Mahodo.
Yeah, of course, Hazuki could probably convince her folks to have some third parties purchase all of the items in this shop, but hey, let's not think too much about those damn semantics.
And with that, they decided to change up the shop's business strategies a little, starting with how it looked.
Again, considering part of the reason Doremi was able to figure out that you were a witch was because of how creepy your shop was, maybe dusting it a little wouldn't be such a bad idea.
Luckily, they managed to do some remodeling while Majrika went to sell some items in the magic world. I would say I'm a little surprised that Home Depot let some elementary school kids buy all of this stuff, but then I forget all about that when I see Aiko do this to her poor broom.
Don't make her get out the knife.
From there, they did all of the standard stuff you'd see in one of those home renovation reality shows, including a little building montage. To their credit, the Ojamajos did legitimately one of the smartest things you could do for a failing business, and changed and shortened the name of the shop to something more attractive.
For instance, I think Vince McMahon Sr. might have had an unhealthy obsession with the letter W.
And while I'll personally never watch one of those home renovation shows, I gotta admit, this was a very charming sequence with the girls putting all of their effort into fixing this rundown little store.
And there's your typical reality show response. I mean, come on, if somebody like Vanilla Ice builds you a new house, I think you should be a little bit more appreciative.
Thankfully, Aiko was there to basically give her the G-rated Gordon Ramsay treatment to convince her to change up her business strategies to at least be up to basic standards. And with even her own fairy turning against her, Majrika had no choice but to submit to the will of capitalism. Thus, the episode ended with the Ojamajo making their own products of varying quality and resting up for the grand reopening the next day.
Just like them reopening that old shop, I would call this a very productive and engaging little episode. I mean, not only did we get some really charming scenes of them fixing out the Mahoto, we even got some good lore building, and combine that with some great animation, probably some of the best of the series so far, and you get probably early on one of my favorite episodes.
And when you really stop and think about it, they got a lot done within just about 20 minutes of screen time. Hazuki and Aiko became apprentices, we learned more about forbidden magic, and they even managed to squeeze in a renovation montage. All of it never felt rushed or forced, but rather naturally built into this simple little slice of life show so far. Now granted, some foundations here could have used a little more reinforcement. The frog curse seemed more than a little wishy-washy with how it was applied, and there were some cut corners like them recycling that steak joke likely just to save time and animation. Still, those are really just nitpicks, as the animation here was some of the show's best so far, especially during the more comedic scenes. And the new dynamic of having all three of these girls being witches sets up some interesting possibilities for the show going forward. Seeing how they managed to work some actual smart business practices into this rundown little shop makes me interested to see how things work out next week.
Things have been a little hectic in my personal life, but I will still try and get the next part of my Mahotsukai Precure Volume 2 review out either this week or the next. These were some pretty fun chapters to look at, mostly because I have really been enjoying the twins' interpretations of certain characters, mostly a certain teddy bear. Look forward to it, and until then though, farewell for now my friends, and if you'll excuse me, I think I'll take a shot at renovating my own place. Hey, if this guy could do it, how hard can it be?